Welcome everybody to Corazón Puro. This is our monthly meeting. We are so happy to invite everyone and welcome everyone from the Philippines, from Mexico, from California, from Dallas, and from McAllen. Bienvenidos todos. Un saludo muy franciscano. Que el Señor les conceda su paz. Les damos la bienvenida. Gracias por estar con nosotros este mes desde la Filipina, México, desde todas partes del país. Le queremos dar la bienvenida.
Hey, welcome everyone. For today, we're going to have guest speaker is Chelsea Rojas. Just before she comes up, a little bit about her. So Chelsea has been a Corazón Puro minister for over 6 years. She's spoken at and organized various missions and youth groups for young adults and centered in a message of theology of the body in New York City and throughout the U.S. She is a recent college graduate who's also graduating in 2 weeks. She currently works with the special needs community in New York City. She will be heading to Uganda, Africa this fall, September, to continue working with the most vulnerable. She's not only a missionary here, but she's my lovely sister, and I'm so proud of her.
She's going to be sharing a very special message with us. The topic of our talk today is relationships with vision. We're talking about relationships that are not turned in on themselves. They exist for a greater purpose. So we want to invite our sister Chelsea Rojas to come up so we could all pray for her together. Come on up, Chelsea. If I can ask everyone to extend their right hand over our sister. We'll begin in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Heavenly Father, we give you thanks and we give you praise for the gift of this day, for the gift of this community, and most especially right now for the gift of your beautiful daughter, Chelsea Rojas. We thank you for everything that you are doing in her and through her, Lord. We ask you to bless her right now. Lord, that whatever message she is sharing with us is divinely inspired. We listen with an anticipating heart, longing to hear from you, Christ, longing to hear from you, Lord, and to receive your light, to guide us on our way. We ask this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Before I start, actually, I want to show you guys a little video. So that might take a few seconds. Voy a tratar poder hablar bilingüe, pero si se me olvida el español, discúlpenme. So I'm really going to try to keep it bilingual, but if the Spanish just doesn't come, then I'm sorry. But because I'm Dominican, then there will be a few Spanish words here and there that will fly out. Are you ready for the video? Yes. Okay. If someone could bring the lights down, please.
That you can muster up for this moment.
No one
only.
understood what's going on.
Repeat
People
after
were
me.
running everywhere.
The uncertainty of Brexit.
No one understood what's going on. People were running everywhere.
The uncertainty of Brexit. We don't know what's going to happen.
We are a more divided nation than we've ever been.
And that officer that was next to us, he ran toward the shops.
People start screaming. Everybody gets on the floor.
It's completely tragedy and misery in Syria.
Let's go out and do something we'd never do.
Love does not despair.
'Cause I feel like I can do
Love gives us hope that
anywhere.
change is possible.
My head is spinning and my feet off the ground when I can't stop dancing like no one's around. And yeah, I think we were born to shine. 'Cause the stars are down when they're compared to.
If you take away the labels, you realize that we're far more alike than we are different.
And close their eyes. You and me.
And the Cubs have finally won it all!
Shine. Stars are tall when they're compared to you and I. And if people don't
Obama.
understand,
We are the music makers, and we are the dreamers of dreams.
we don't have So brighter than fireflies are gonna light the sky.
And love is 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 love. Cannot be killed or swept aside. Now fill the world with music, love, and pride.
Light the sky.
Is love. I love
What's
that.
going on? People are
That is so
running
beautiful.
everywhere.
I
The
love that. You can
uncertainty
bring the
of
lights back
Brexit.
up.
Don't know what's
I
going to
want it
happen.
to be
We're a
dark
more
in here.
divided nation.
But I love that because it's so true. It will never cease in being, and it can never be killed. It can never be destroyed, taken away, because love is made of God, made from God, and it's in our hearts, and we long for that, right? Cada uno tenemos ese deseo de amor, y vemos en nuestro mundo, we see in our world today, in our culture, that we've kind of lost it. We kind of lost what love was really all about, and the way in which our society has kind of come together. As you can see in 2016, Google put this little video together showing you like all of the different things that have happened in the year that are related to love, right? It's kind of like, as crazy as the world is, we still come together and we realize that love is the answer. Love is what we all long for. Love is what we're all looking for. You know, that's like the common denominator or the common thread here, love. And so today we're really gonna talk about relationships, right, with vision. And a relationship with vision is simply saying that the end goal and the main goal is love, right? To have a relationship of love. Now, we're gonna like put the magnifying lens on romantic relationships, but really this is like across the board. This is with any relationship. It's family, friendship, with your colleagues, with your boss, you know, having a relationship where each person is valued and is loved and is cared about and is respected, you know. So right, before we even talk about like having a relationship with vision, we kind of need to know the way things were in the beginning. Tenemos que regresar a cómo las cosas pasaron al principio. Y tenemos que ir a la historia de Adam and Eve, right? I'm not going to go into it because we already know the story of Adam and Eve. But it is important for us to kind of understand the beginning of things, how God originally intended, for things to be. So Pope John Paul II, Saint Pope John Paul II, he gave us the theology of the body, and he kind of gave us a reflection, it's called the original man. And in this reflection, he's kind of like telling us, you know, what it really means to be human. You know, what is the human experience? ¿Qué significa ser humano? You know, ¿quién soy yo? ¿A dónde voy? ¿Qué significa ser hombre? ¿Qué significa ser mujer? You know, like those questions he kind of like put out there with answers in a way, right? Because I think we all have those questions, these transcendental questions like, who am I? Where am I going, right? You hit like a midlife crisis and you're like, oh my gosh, who am I? Like, no, legit, like, who am I? Like, you never looked in the mirror one day and were like, yo, but is this me? Like, am I really living and breathing right now? Like, this is crazy, right? If you ever had that moment in time where you were just like, wow, like, I'm alive. Like, blood is rushing through my body right now. Like, this is crazy, right? I've been having a lot of those lately. I don't know why. I really don't know why. But in the reflection of the original man, he tells us, right, that we experience something called original solitude, original unity, and original nakedness. Original solitude, right, that we were okay being alone. ¿Cómo se dice en español? La soledad original, que nosotros estábamos bien estando solo con Dios, right? That we, in a sense, were already fulfilled being alone with God. However, there was still, before Eve came into play, Adam was like still missing something in his heart, which was Eve, right? We all know this. But there was like an okayness with being alone and being with God and understanding who we were and who we are. And then original unity, the desire and the longing for communion with another person, with other people, right? This was when Adam started to desire a partner, right? And then original nakedness, then when Adam, rib was taken from him and Eve was made, that they both saw each other and they weren't trying to get something from each other. Like they really saw each other for the people that they were, right? For the person. And then what happened was, we all know that the enemy came and started whispering lies into Eve's ear, and she fell for it, right? And so that's when sin came into the world, and we have the world that we have today, which is like super crazy, right? And if we're all here today, it's because we have a similar mindset, it's because we have similar morals and similar beliefs. But when you go out into the world, when you go out to your job, to your friends from college, high school, wherever, like it's always gonna contradict what you've been taught in your faith, what has been passed down to you. And that's difficult. And we see it played out so many times. I mean, even for me, a loved one was just telling me, like, this is just how perverted our society and our world has become. Someone dear to me was telling me, she's a substitute teacher, and she was telling me that in the classroom that she was in, 2 first graders gave each other oral sex in the bathroom. So just imagine that, 2 first graders doing that to each other. And where does that even come from, right? It wasn't like they just curiously or just like randomly. No, the case is that they most likely already saw this at home. They already saw this in the family life, and so the way in which the perversion has spread already, it's even to our generation now, to the youngest of us, and it's just crazy and sad. And it bothers us. I know it bothers me a lot hearing things like that, but this is what it has come to. Because sin is real and it's affected all of us, even the youngest of us. So before we can even go into what a relationship with vision is, or what that's supposed to be like, we kind of need to see what is fogging our vision, what is blurring our vision, what's getting in the way of us being able to eventually have that in a romantic relationship, but also just in relationship in general with everyone else, right? And it says in Proverbs here, where there is no vision, the people perish, basically, right? And it's just crazy too. Like, I also had someone come up to me and say, oh, like I was at work, and then like my coworker just came up to me and started showing me like naked pictures of herself. And I was like, what? Like, how you just come up to someone and just show them that, And it's just like, we don't even know boundaries, in regular relationships with people, that to the point where we think it's okay to just already do things like that. And so we need to have a vision of knowing how to love one another, and of knowing where it is that we want to head to, because, right, we're all here because we want to know what God is calling us to do with our lives. Some of us will be called to be married, some of us won't. But for those of us that will, right, the vision at this moment, right, is, let's say, marriage. But what is that reaching to? That's reaching to be holy, right? When you enter a vocation, it's to enter sanctity and to enter holiness, to eventually be able to enter heaven, right? So it's vocation, which allows you to be holy, right? And then heaven, right? So that's like the vision, but like I said, we're gonna go into what's getting in the way. Right, so I want to spend the rest of my lease with you. So if you kind of can figure that out, we're gonna be talking about cohabitation. And there's so many reasons why people decide to cohabitate. I know one of them is definitely, to save money, or you gotta know like who the person is beforehand, and it just boggles my mind that we really feel that way. I mean, I was at Bear Burger the other day having a burger by myself, because I love to go out and eat by myself. There's some people that they go to the movies by themselves, and I was like, chill, I could never go to the movies by myself. Like, that's not me, I'm sorry, that's kind of weird. But then I was like, wait, but I'm one of those people that like goes to eat like to nice restaurants by themselves. Like, that's me. That's totally me. But whatever, I own it. Anyways, I was there eating my burger, and of course, I'm sitting next to two people that are talking, and I have no choice but to listen into their conversation because they're really loud and I'm really close. And I know they knew that I was listening, and I was just like, okay. So at one point, it was two guys, and then one of them says to the other one, yo, bro, have you lived with her yet? And the guy's like, lived with her? I haven't lived with her. And he's like, no, I don't mean lived with her, but like, you know, you spent like a vacation with her, like you spent time with her, like you guys like lived in the same place together. Like you don't, not that you have to like live like in the house for like a year or something, but like, you know, like you spend time together. And then he's like, oh yeah. I thought we went to that trip to Cancun for like 7 days, you know, yeah, I lived with her, I guess. And then the guy's like, yeah, bro, you need to live with her first to know like if she's the one, you know? And I'm just like, I wanted to like interject so badly, but I was like, I don't want to be rude, and like this burger's really good right now, so I'm gonna just, you know, eat my burger and just continue listening. Why not? It was entertainment. And it's just crazy to me that wanting to test out if it's gonna work or not. Like, what difference is it gonna make if, you know, he doesn't put the toilet seat down every time he goes to the bathroom, or, you know, she doesn't know how to make mango the way you like it? Like, is that really a deal breaker? Like, is it really a deal breaker? Because that's pretty shallow. That's pretty shallow. If it's nitty-gritty things like that we're gonna put a stop for, like, no, we're not gonna continue this relationship, sorry. You know, because I think, and that's the beauty of marriage, that you can, you know, take that journey together in time of figuring each other out and seeing what these little things are that you do or don't do, but it's not a deal breaker, you know? But before I go much more into it, I have another video that I want to show you guys. And it's probably not as funny as it should be because it's from like the Midwest. I guess the people in the video from the Midwest, I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to poke fun at people from the Midwest. I love you, Bridget. But just, if it's not that funny, then just listen to it anyways.
Take you, Missy. Well, Todd and Missy, to be my co-inhabitant.
To be my co-inhabitant.
Have you got the ring? To sleep with.
To sleep with you.
And to hold you responsible for your half of the bills. Would you do the honor of putting your keys in Missy's hands? To love.
To love.
And take advantage of.
And take advantage of you.
Now, as long as look into your partner's eyes, and with every bit of truth that you can muster up, I will be, for this moment only,
I will be,
more or less faithful to you. I, Todd,
more or less faithful to you. I, Todd,
as long as take you, Missy,
take you, Missy,
to be my co-inhabitant, and if nothing better
to be
comes
my
along,
co-inhabitant, and if nothing
to
better
sleep
comes
with.
Along, to sleep
and if
with
we
you,
should break up, and to hold you responsible for your half of the bills, it doesn't mean.
And hold you responsible for your half of the bills.
It doesn't mean it wasn't special to me.
And take advantage of.
And take advantage of you.
Because for as long as our arrangement works out. Almost.
For as long as our arrangements work out.
I will be.
As much as I love
I will be.
More or less faithful to you.
More or less faithful
I commit to live with as long as my needs are met.
I commit to live with you.
As long as it doesn't get complicated. And if nothing better comes along.
As long as it doesn't get better comes along.
So help me. And if we should break up.
So help me.
And
me.
we should break up.
Me.
It doesn't mean that this wasn't special. In the name of sex.
It doesn't mean it wasn't special to me.
Option. Because and convenience.
And convenience. Because I love you.
Amen. Almost as much as I love myself. Well, Todd and Missy, let me be the first to congratulate you. But for now, you are now officially living together. I commit to live with you. You may now.
I commit to live with you.
As long as it doesn't get complicated.
As long as it doesn't get complicated.
So help me.
So help me.
Well, Todd and Missy,
me.
You have chosen.
Me.
In the name of sex.
In the name of sex.
Options.
Options.
And convenience.
And convenience.
Amen.
Amen.
Well, Todd and Missy, let me be the first to congratulate you. You are now officially living together. You may now, well, you know.
I warned you guys. I definitely warned you guys. But isn't this kind of true? Like if there were to be some kind of a ceremony for this, in a sense, that is what's going on and that is what's happening. And I know this is a very sensitive topic because maybe we come from family who our parents never got married. Or maybe you're in a situation or you know someone that you love is in this situation. And I'm not here to convince or to pass judgment or anything, but we are here to talk about it, and the church gives us the authority to talk about it and to have the platform to do so. So like I said, cohabitation, people typically do it because they want to save money, everything that was like mentioned there, right? But that doesn't make it okay. That doesn't make it moral, right? That doesn't make it of God. That doesn't make it something that we should do just because it's very popular and it's very common now in our society today. And there's a lot of stats out there that go against cohabitation as well. I'm going to read some out to you. Give me a second. So data from the National Institute of Child Health and Human Development did a study that addressed how cohabitation of unmarried to biological parent families is associated with characteristics of young children's family environment using longitudinal assessments of maternal depression and observed parenting sensitivity collected across the child's first 2 years and mother's reports of couple relationship conflict and ambivalence. The demographic factors of lower parental education, non-white, race, ethnicity, and low income characterize the cohabiting parents in comparison with married parents. After controlling those demographic differences, it was found that stably cohabitating mothers reported more depressive symptoms and were less sensitive with their child than were married mothers. Cohabiting couple relationships were characterized by more ambivalence and conflict, each of which partly mediated associations of cohabitation with the depression and the parenting sensitivity. Also, there was another study done, and it was predicted that couples that live together before engagement have the highest propensity for relationship distress, both during the time of cohabitation and continuing into marriage. This includes a higher risk for physical violence, lack of problem-solving skills, and supportive interaction in couples. Furthermore, the authors of this study were surprised to find that couples that cohabitated after engagement were similarly affected by those negative outcomes, in contrast to those who actually waited to live together when they got married. And then I have like so many other stats for you guys on this. Let me just read a few more out. Women who cohabitated before marriage are more than 3 times as likely to cheat on their husbands within marriage. Most couples who live together never end up getting married. May be the case, as some of you know already, right? Maybe your parents or people in your family. But those who do tie the knot and have cohabitated have a divorce rate nearly 80% higher than those who waited until after the wedding to move in together. The U.S. Justice Department found that women who cohabit are 62 times more likely to be assaulted by a live-in boyfriend than by a husband. There were also more than 3 times as likely to be depressed, right, as I just said. Another one here, there's just so many facts, so many stats. For one, cohabitating couples are usually sexually active, and according to the Journal of Adolescent and Family Health, those who have premarital sex are more likely to have extramarital affairs, right? So again, like cheating and adultery. Cohabitating undermines commitment, since it is assumed that if one person finds enough faults in the other, he is free to leave. However, successful marriages are not the result of a lack of annoying qualities in the other. They are a result of choosing to love and forgiving the other daily with all his or her imperfections. So this is what we believe, right? That just because there may be difficulties, we're not going to call it quits ASAP, just because there are a few things that are not in alignment with what you think should be. And that's the whole purpose of dating before, you know? You really get to know the person, of courting, right? Of getting to know their family, of getting to know their friends, of getting to know the whole circle, the squad, everybody, right? You get to know all these key people and spending time with them, yes, but it's not necessary to live with them to figure these things out. And so cohabitation really, it's not something that God's gonna bless. And in my ignorance, I have family that back in the day, I was pretty young too. We would go to their house when like one of my cousins would move in with their girlfriend. And we would do like a holy hour, like a hora santa type of thing. I don't know if this is like Dominican culture, when someone gets a new apartment, we go to their house and we like do like a special blessing and whatnot. So my cousin had moved in with his girlfriend, and we did a hora santa. And then it's just like, we're there praying and thanking God and asking for God's blessing, but God wasn't gonna bless that. And God's not gonna bless that. God's not gonna bless a relationship that he is not in, because cohabitation goes against and rejects God's original plan for marriage, God's original plan for unity between man and woman. And so it's kind of crazy to even think about that's a thing and that people do that. I mean, I have another cousin, like this is so within my family, so it does hit home for me very much. Why are you raising your hand? Just the other day too, I have another cousin that just moved in with her boyfriend, and she sent out the invitation and, you know, for everyone to go and to bring gifts, like a housewarming thing. And so I have a big chat with my family, like a WhatsApp chat. I don't know if y'all have that with your family, but I do. You know, Dominicans, we love staying united to each other, or just Hispanics in general, we love doing that. And then I have cousins saying in the chat, like, wow, that's relationship goals. Yo, mad relationship goals. I can't wait. I can't wait when I can move in with my boyfriend or with my girlfriend. And I'm just like, that is not relationship goals. What is going on here? But I wasn't gonna say that, are you crazy? You know, I'm already the oddball out, like, in my family, so imagine if I'm gonna say a comment like that. I just didn't show up. I just wasn't there. If anything, I will go visit them, but I'm not gonna celebrate, you know, something where God is not gonna be present in. And so, yes, cohabitation clearly is something that is so rampant and so in our culture right now. It's fogging our vision. It's getting in the way of us understanding what marriage really is or what it's supposed to look like. So another thing that is getting in the way, contraception. So condoms and birth control, like you can pick this up anywhere. Like I went to go get fingerprinted the other day, and there's like this big like box of just condoms like sitting right next to me, and I was like, interesting, okay. I'm not gonna grab one. But our public school system, like, you know, the counselor has to give you one if you ask for it. You know, a counselor cannot not give one to a student. So it's like, we can find this in the school, we can find this in the street. Like, I live here in the Bronx, like it's really hot spot everywhere you go, and it's just like I find condoms all over the floor. Like this is just how like in your face, right, and abrasive this is now in our day. And then birth control, right? It's another thing. It's like you go to the doctor as a woman, and it's like any little thing they want to give you birth control. Like, oh, you have acne, birth control. It's like, oh, you don't get your period, birth control. It's like everything is birth control. You have a headache, like that's the point that we're gonna reach. Like I feel like it's gonna come to that at some point. It's really sad. And I know that some women use birth control for health reasons. The church is not against that. But regardless, there's so many side effects to using birth control that you shouldn't. You should search for an alternative. You should search for a more natural option, which is what I did. I was having some issues, and they just wanted to give me birth control, and I was like, no, I want something natural. And they're like, but this is made of yams. Like, how much more natural can it get? And I was like, no. You know? But contraception is definitely fogging up our view and getting in the way. And it's creating this mentality that, you know, there's no consequences, you know? There's no consequences to my actions because I'm protecting myself. I'm doing the preventative care. And it's just even the terms that we use, like protection, like I have to protect myself. But really, if it's someone that you love, then why are you protecting yourself from them? Like, that just doesn't make sense, you know? And essentially, when you do use contraception of any form, of any kind, you're putting a barrier between the relationship already. You're saying, I don't really trust you fully with my body, so I'm gonna use this because I don't want your kids. I don't want this of you. I don't want this part of you, so I really don't fully want you or fully love you, right? And for women, there's just using birth control just completely hormonally just changes, you know, your view of the person that you're with. There's just so much that gets in the way for us to really have a real relationship with a person when we're putting all of these artificial things into the relationship. And Pope Paul VI, right, super awesome, he wrote Humanae Vitae, the encyclical, where he actually prophesied about how contraception was like gonna get in the way of relationships. Like before, like it even became, you know, what it is today. Like he had already said that. And it's crazy that he was like so on point to like what's going on right now with contraception. I don't know about you, have you ever had someone like prophesy to you, like someone like tell you something about the future, about yourself, and you're like, oh wow, that's interesting, or like, nah. And then like it ends up happening, you're like, yo, this person told me like this was gonna happen, like that's crazy. Like this is him like doing this about contraception, like he totally prophesied to us about this. And so some of those things that he had said are the following. There were a few, I'm gonna name 4. So he said that the widespread use of contraception would lead to conjugal infidelity and general lowering of morality. So we were going to lower our standards, lower our morals, right? And then we were going to end up just constantly cheating on each other because, you know, if I don't get pregnant or if this doesn't happen or I don't catch an STD, like I'm okay. Like no one has to know. No one's going to know what I'm doing in the dark, right? So an example of that first prophecy is divorce rate, it's abortions, and all, you know, out of wedlock pregnancies and teenage pregnancies and STDs and all of these things. The second prophecy that he said was that man will lose respect for the woman and vice versa, and no longer care for her or his physical and psychological equilibrium, and will come to the point of considering her or him as a mere instrument of selfish enjoyment and no longer as his or her respected and beloved companion. We already see this happening, yes? Another one, the widespread acceptance of contraception would place a dangerous weapon in the hands of public authorities who take no heed of moral demands. An example, China and the third world countries' population control, like, can't have, you know, the one-child policy, can't have more, so we're going to give everybody birth control, we're going to sterilize, we're going to do X, Y, Z because we just can't handle that, we can't have that, right? And so just the idea that you could do that you can control, you know, if you can have a child or not, like just that whole mindset is a problem. It's a contraceptive mentality, and it is a problem. The fourth prophecy that he said was, man will be led to think that he has limitless dominion over his own body. So we're going to think that I can do whatever I want, whenever I want, however I want, and with whoever I want, right? And that's a straight up lie. And if you've experienced that yourself, you already know that it's not you, because you can't. You can't do whatever you want, whenever you want, however you want, with, you know, you can't. You really can't. And so these two things are like the two biggest things that I feel in our society today are getting in the way of us authentically loving each other, of us authentically being in relationship with each other. Maybe you haven't experienced these things, but you know these things, and it's so within our culture that you start to think this way. Even if you haven't experienced it, you start to think this way. So we're going to continue on and not dwell so much on the negativity. Oh, this was funny, I thought. Me acting shocked after I ruined my own happiness through the same self-destructive behaviors I've been repeating my whole life, right? So for those of us who have just been constantly engaging in sin, especially sexual sin and just using contraception or cohabitating or whatever, it's like when you find out that that's really not freeing, or it's not, you know, according to God's will, you're like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. Okay, next. So what can we do to cultivate relationships with vision, right? This is the whole purpose of us being here today, trying to figure out how we can do this, how we can go about living a life this way with the people that matter in our lives. So just 3 things that I felt were very key to having a relationship with vision. So again, like, what is the vision? And I think for everyone here, it may, on a micro level, it may look different. You know, what's the vision in your life that you feel like God is calling you to do with your life? And even when we look at in a macro level, like society, like the vision in society, like the vision in relationships, like that the president is supposed to have with like the president from another country, the way in which your relationship with someone that you work with is supposed to be, like I was saying earlier, you know, the vision in the relationships that you already have established they're going to kind of be a little bit different of how you think that's supposed to be or that's supposed to look like. But in a romantic relationship, right, I think one of the biggest things is to be intentional in dating. So if you're just trying to casually date someone, then you need to specify that and say that, because that other person may be looking for their spouse already. And if you're not on the same page, there's going to be problems. I don't know if anyone here has ever felt confused in a relationship before, or like just not knowing like where is this relationship going, like asking that, like, yo, has anyone felt that way? Like, where is this relationship going? Like just questioning, like, okay, like we're hanging out a lot, or they're calling me a lot, or like they're saying these particular comments to me, like where is this going? You know, so I think especially when you're serious about your life, right? You're not trying to waste time. Like, it's 2017, we're not trying to waste anybody's time, not trying to waste my time, right? No one's trying to waste time. Time is very valuable, it is of the essence. But I think it's worth it to, you know, or maybe you're that person and you're not even trying to have a romantic relationship, but you can see with your eyes that clearly this person is into you. You need to say something, right? You need to say, oh, you know, I just want to clarify with you that I see you as a friend. That's all. Like, it's very simple. We make it very complicated. But I think you owe it to the person, because they have a dignity, to tell them how you feel, to be intentional, right? And this is maybe hard because we're too much to ourselves and just looking inwards, like, I'm not gonna say anything, nah, like, no. I'm gonna just let time pass and then whatever. No, like, it's worth it to have that conversation, right? So be intentional in dating, like, what you're looking for, you know? If you're just trying to casually date, do that. That's the last Spanish I think I'm gonna say today, I'm sorry. But if you are looking for your spouse, then make that known too, you know? Setting healthy boundaries. So once you're in, right, a relationship, or, right, if you're in a romantic relationship, then you do have to set healthy boundaries. And this is not, I'm not just talking about physical or like sexual boundaries. I'm talking about even emotional boundaries. I'm talking about, you know, mental boundaries. Like, sometimes we treat our boyfriends or our girlfriends like we're already married to them. And that's not okay. Yes, your vision is marriage, but at the same time, you need to put boundaries in that relationship and know that that person is not your spouse yet. So you can't tell them every little thing. You know, you have to like know, like, okay, like, I'm gonna hold out on this. I'm gonna wait before I give all of myself, like, tell this whole person like the whole laundry list of the things that I've done, like, on date number 1. You know, like, you have to like give yourself that time, you know, and set those boundaries, right? Because even like at work, like with your boss, like, you're not gonna just like talk about your private life with your boss, like over coffee. You know, you're not, that's a boundary. And you already know this, that you're not gonna do that. You're not gonna go there, right? And so it's just like to be mindful, especially in a romantic relationship, that you should have a conversation at some point and to establish, especially the physical boundaries, you know, to keep yourself living, you know, the chaste lifestyle that hopefully this is what an endeavor that you guys are looking into or want to do or are already doing. But boundaries just go on any level. It's not just sexual boundaries, but it's all around. So check in with each other. So, right, you, in a romantic relationship, if you establish, yes, that you both are interested in each other and want to pursue marriage, and you set those boundaries and whatnot, but to check in on each other if, like, this is still something that you both want. This is still something that you both are putting effort and time into. This is still something that you both want to keep fighting for and want to keep, you know, giving your all to. Right? So just a reminder, right? Like, we are longing to find someone to be married to, right? If that is your calling, if most of you will be. Some of you in the Zoom are not, clearly. Father and brother. But you guys, you know, have an awesome part in this and blessing that union, you know, and being there and being a witness to that love. But I think in our culture today, it's like you don't even aim for marriage anymore. Like, it's not a thing. Like, there's so much fear in commitment. Commitment is such a huge fear that so many people have, you know, and it's sad because we we thrive off of commitments. You know, this is the whole love and responsibility thing that St. Pope John Paul II was talking about. Like, the more responsibility you feel towards someone, the more love there is. If you don't feel responsible for someone, then the love is not as it should be, or it's not fully there yet, right? But you're aiming towards that, to have that commitment, to have that responsibility. I don't think, you know, we would, like, if you're in school, you know, you have a commitment with a responsibility of, you know, going to school, handing in your homework, you know, doing things on time or at work, you know, being there punctually, doing XYZ tasks. And those are responsibilities. Imagine if we didn't have those responsibilities. We would be so careless and sloppy with our work. It would be a hot mess of a job. Like, I don't care. I really don't, right? That's like how we would feel about it. But because responsibility and commitment are good things that we should be aiming for, when we have a relationship and we know that we have this set commitment, or when you're married and you have those vows that you make, that you take till death do you part, then it makes it worth it. And you know, a lot of people say like, oh, titles don't matter, right? Especially people who are not married and decide to live in together. It's like, you know, titles really don't matter, but they do. They really do, because it protects and it honors your dignity as a person, you know, that you are worth me being all in for. Because that's what real love says and real love does. You are worth me being all in for. Like, I'm all for you because I love you and I'm in love with you. And I'm willing to say that in front of a multitude of people, to God, to you, to your face on this day. You know, like that is as it should be. So titles do matter because it protects your dignity and your worth. Right? Real relationship goals, sticking out together despite the drama, despite the hard times, despite, you know, the craziness and the ups and downs and everything that gets in the way. So just a reminder that, again, the battle that we have is real, and I think we need to always remember that it's about Christ. It's about going to heaven. It's about being saints. It's about being holy. Like St. Paul told us, this is the will of God, your sanctification, for you to be holy. That is what God is calling you at the end of the day. No matter what your vocation is, no matter how you're feeling right now, no matter what situation you were in, no matter what you were doing, you know, because even in the act of the sin, God was there and God was loving you. And that's kind of mind-blowing to think that, oh, like, while I was having sex, God was loving me. While I was watching pornography, God was loving me. While I was masturbating, God was loving me. Yes, he was loving you even then. But you chose not to accept the love because you chose sin, right? And that's what sin does. It blinds us. It makes us ugly. That is the definition of sin. But to know that God's mercy is unending, it is unfailing. And he comes and he kisses us and he embraces us and he says, you are not what you've done. You are not these things. You are not what people say you are. You're not any of that. And it's beautiful to be reminded of that we are none of that, and that God's mercy is constant and it is unending. And it is always there for us. The second that we long for it, that we want it, it's there. It's already there. You know, whether you are aware of it or not, but it's there. And you guys know about Our Lady of Fatima, the 100th year and whatnot. Like, everybody's out to Portugal right now. Like, it's lit in Portugal. Everybody out, right? Like, you see your friend on Facebook, like, why are they in Portugal? Because Our Lady of Fatima, that's why they're in Portugal. You know, like, that's the hot spot right now. So Sister Lucia of Fatima, she said that the final battle between the Lord and the reign of Satan will be about marriage and the family. And so marriage and the family are just like the foundation of society. It is really where the faith is passed down. It is really where we are made saints in our families. And I know a lot of us come from possibly broken homes and just families where there was no vision of like being saints and being holy and striving and running the race and going to the sacraments and all that stuff, which is how it should be. And as we know this now, then when we form families, we can bring this, you know, into our families, and it's a beautiful thing. In in a way to like not have had that and then see that and then want that and aspire to that in your homes and in your families when you get the chance to do so. But because this is something that the enemy constantly wants to attack, then we're gonna be aimlessly in relationships that we just don't even know where they're going. We're just like, well, we've been together for 7 years, so I guess we'll end up together. I guess we'll get married. Like, I mean, at this point, I ain't gonna find nobody, right? Right? Like these little mentalities of like, well, ya pa qué, tanto tiempo gastado, vamos pa allá, right? Like the mindset or the thought. And we treat marriage less than, and we treat it like it's nothing, like it's a whatever, it's a piece of paper. And it's not. Like, I don't even think we understand, like a sacrament is a real thing. Like it does something to you. A sacrament does something. Marriage does something to us. And when you see married couple that are really living it out, like that's beautiful. Like, I don't know if you guys been around like married couples that are like the real deal, but there's like this legit like a glow, like como que algo que te atrae. You're like, oh my gosh, like what's going on here? Like there's something about them. Right? Or not even married people, but just regular individuals that are really, you know, living a life that is good, beautiful, and true. You're attracted to that. You're attracted to that. We are so much attracted to that, right? And we want that, but we're like, nah, that's impossible. That's too hard. Chill. No. I'm not, no, that's too hard. Like, I can't. Like, I've fallen so many times, and I've just, you know, done X, Y, Z all the time. That's not for me. It's not for me. And you may realize and just acknowledge that it's like great and beautiful and good and true, but you're just like, it's just not for me, you know? But it is for us, you know, the good, the beautiful, and the true is so much for us, and we have to constantly want it. You know, you have to want it. You have to desire it. If you don't, then you're not gonna have a life worth living if you just settle your whole life. You have to go for it. You have to make strides, and you have to do things in order to have that which you long for, right? And just a beautiful thing that I read the other day, and the person said that marriage is the destruction of self-absorption. So imagine that, because it's not about you anymore. It's not. Once you enter your vocation, it ain't about you, boo. Sorry, like, you know, and you have to be willing to die to that part of you that wants it to be all about you. You have to be willing to die to that ego that just wants to be fed 24/7. You know, you have to be willing to die to that. And that's a hard thing, because in our culture, it's about the ego. It's about you. Do you, boo, right? That's what they say. Like, do what you gotta do. It's all about what you want. And it doesn't matter. Whatever gets in the way, you know, forget about that. Like, you gotta get what's yours and put yourself first. But really, that's just continuing a culture of selfishness, and we have to cultivate selflessness within ourselves and within our relationships with other people. And that's the place where you learn, you know, how to really have a relationship when you're putting the other person first, right? And that's the vision, that I can put another person first, and that makes me happy. And that actually does. Like, I don't know if you tried it before, but when you stop thinking about yourself for 5 seconds and you think about somebody else, like, oh, what can I do today to make this person smile? What can I do today to make the load that they're carrying, you know, lighter? Like, what can I do to go out of my way to make this person feel loved? And that's a beautiful thing to do and to want and to aspire to. And it's possible. And I think in our culture, it's just very difficult to do so, because we just hear it all the time in the music and the media, just like the opposite, you know, it's like, feed yourself first. And yes, you have to love yourself first, right? You need to have self-love, because you cannot give what you do not have. You have to have that. But it shouldn't be all that. That should not be it. And really putting someone else first is a really beautiful thing, and it's a practice, I think, that we should all try to do a little more often. You know, and just on a basic level, like with your parents, like, what can I do to help mommy know that I love her? What can I do to let my dad know that I care about him today? And little by little, as we do these things, we start remembering what it's all about. It's all about getting to heaven. And through my vocation is the means in which I will do so. Through my vocation is where I'm going to be holy, where I'm going to be with God face to face. You know, because it's like we all want to go to heaven. Nobody doesn't want to go to heaven. But it's like, are we living a life that is going to lead to that or not? And when we have relationships with this vision in mind, then it helps us to get there. It helps us to get there and to bring other people with us, which is also what it's all about. Because it's not just about me getting there, like, I made it, hey. But it's like, yo, mad people made it too. Like, we all out here. Like, it's great. It's a beautiful thing to say, like, all my people made it. Like, everybody's out here. The whole squad's here. Everyone's here. You know, like, imagine this party in heaven. Like, I can't. I try to, and it makes me want to cry. But just to imagine, like, all your best friends, all the people that you love, and also the people that you don't like or love. And but that they're all going to be there. It's going to be a really big party, and it's going to be awesome. Just imagine that. Just imagine that. And it makes you smile anyways. It makes you smile anyways because it will be a place where there's no hate, where there's no sorrow, where there's no tears. It's nothing but joy and bliss. And we've been able to forgive and let go and to really love and embrace each other. Yes. Every single person in that list that you have that you're just like, if I see them in person, you don't even want to know. Right? But what a beauty of a thought that that's a possibility, and it is a possibility, and we're all capable of reaching that, and we're all capable of having heaven today, because heaven is not a place, like, okay, it is a place, but not like if I fly high enough on a rocket ship, I'm gonna get to heaven, you know, but it's a state of being. So because heaven is a state of being, we could have heaven right now, but do we want it? Do we want heaven right now? And you have to look at your life and see that. Am I acting like I want heaven right now or not? You know, because clearly in the way I treat people or in my relationships, it's not so, right? I'm not wanting heaven for myself or heaven for another person. I was, this was like years ago, but there was this like Catholic rapper that I had a conversation with, Be the Symbol, I believe his name is. And he was telling me about a song that he wrote to his girlfriend at the time. Now he's engaged, and the song was called Pinky Promise. And he said that the whole song, the point of the song was to say that, you know, even if they're not for each other, even if they're not meant to be together, that he wants heaven for her. You know, that he wants heaven for himself and for her. So even if they're not meant to be, because to love, as St. Thomas Aquinas says, is to will the good of the other. So if I'm not good for you, I will leave you because I love you enough to let you go, because I know I may not be good for you or I may not be the one for you. I will let you go. And that's just so beautiful to just think that you want heaven for someone so badly that you're willing to leave them if you know you're not good for them or if you know you're not the one for them. Like, that's a big thing, because it's like, oh no, but I care about this person and I want this person so bad, but you have to surrender that person too sometimes, you know? It's like, God, what do you want of this relationship? Where do you want this relationship to go? You know, and sometimes we can just be very selfish or very tunnel vision and say, no, like, we're gonna be together because I say so and because I'm gonna make everything that I can happen. I'm gonna put 110% into this relationship. And that's a good thing that you wanna be all in, but you have to ask God, like, what's the vision for this relationship? Where do you want me to take this relationship? How do you want me to be in this relationship? What should I do in this relationship? You know? And it's just a beautiful thing to want heaven for somebody else, not just yourself. Yes, want it for yourself, but to want it for someone else and to want it for other people is what it really means to be Christian, what it means to be Catholic. It's kind of chopped up here, but St. Pope John Paul II, I love this quote. He said, "We love the person complete with all of his or her virtues and faults, and up to a point independently of those virtues and in spite of those faults. The strength of such a love emerges most clearly when the beloved person stumbles, when his or her weaknesses or even sins come into the open." That's kind of tough stuff, right? Because it's like, if someone messes up like bad, you're going to be like, chuck up the deuce, bye, right? Like, I'm not gonna deal with this. I'm sorry, you messed up, I'm out, peace, right? That's the worldview of it, that you could just bounce whenever you want, but that's not real love. And that's not the love that we want. We want a love that accepts us no matter what we've done, you know? And yes, there are consequences to our actions, of course. I'm not saying like if someone does something like mad crazy, like be okay with it. No, I'm not saying that. You know, there are consequences and we need to accept those consequences and live out those consequences. But at the same time, to really be able to love a person in the way that God loves them is to accept them as they are. You know, to accept them with all the things that have been done that, you know, may not be, you know, something that you're okay with or that is really hard to accept and understand. But that's when you do love the person, when you get a full view of the person with everything, with the whole resume of sins and the whole laundry list and all these things. That's really when you're capable of saying, you know what, you can take a step back and say, I still love this person and I still choose this person, even with all of these things, even with, you know, the XYZ thing that has happened. And that's a real love. And I don't know if some of you have experienced that you could still love someone knowing everything that you know. And that's how you know the love is real, right? That's how you know the love is real, when you're willing to still love the person. I think, I'm not a parent, but I think parents, like when they know the things that their children have done, maybe Betty could testify to this, but that you can still love your child, like even when they've stumbled and they've fallen, like, you know, and they've done all these things that you taught them not to do, like a million times, and they did it, you're like, but that you can still love them and accept them as they are. And that's the vision for a relationship, to be able to accept the people that we love, even when knowing, you know, the dirty laundry and all of these things. So, has anyone ever heard about the Carthusian order? They're like really strict monks, like super strict. I'm going to attempt to read this. It's Latin, stat crux dum volvitar orbis, right? Something like that. And it's basically saying that even like the cross stands firm even when the world is turning, even though the world is turning, right? And as Christians, as Catholics, this is a reminder to us that the world is constantly going to give us lies. It's constantly going to feed us trash. It's constantly going to be in our face, you know, questioning us and wanting to fight with us and argue and spit in our face with all of these things that are contrary to our beliefs and contrary to everything that we've learned here in Corazón Puro, at your parish, you know, whatever you've learned, whenever you picked up the Bible and read it, like, it's contrary to the gospel. Like, that's just point blank. We know this. But to know that the cross is still there and it stands firm, and the cross, not the crucifix, right? Not with Jesus on it, because the resurrection, right? Because Jesus died, but he rose again. And today is the last day of the Easter blessing, right? Or when is the last day of Easter? Did it pass? Ascension Thursday, right? But to know that we still live in the resurrection, even past Ascension Thursday, you know, that we still live in the resurrection. We are a people of the Alleluia, right? We should be a person of the Alleluia from the head to the foot, as St. Augustine has said. And to just remember that God is so much present in our lives and in our world, despite all the craziness, despite, you know, the persecution in Syria, despite, you know, the president in North Korea and our president Trump and all this stuff, all this craziness that happens in our world today, despite all of that, the cross still hangs, the cross still stands, no matter what. And this is a reminder to us of God's faithfulness, of God's loyalty, of God's love. And today's gospel is like one of my favorite readings ever. You know, I will not leave you orphans. I will come to you. I will not leave you alone. I will not abandon you. I will not forsake you. Like, God's promises are so real, and we often forget. And I think we need to remind ourselves every day of these truths, every day, that God does not leave us. He doesn't leave us astray, that he's not like thinking of another person more than us, but it's us that he's after. It's us that he loves. It's us that, he longs to be in communion and in relationship with. And the real vision, my friends, my brothers and my sisters, is to be one with him. And I know we so long to be one with another person and to have like, you know, a lot of friends and all these things which are important and are good. But really the real vision is to be one with him and to have a real lasting, strong relationship with him, to work every day on our relationship with him. And that should be the end all be all, right? God, Christ, our number one, the person that we put first. And so before I end, I wanted to share a song that is really beautiful, and I think it will help us realize that, you know, that God is our vision, that he's the one that we look to and we look towards, and that teaches us to walk in this way, to love the other, to accept the other, to treat the other as he treats us. And so I ask you all to close your eyes and to just listen to the words of this song.
Be thou my vision, O Lord of my heart, not be all else to me, save that thou art. Thou my best thought by day or by night, waking or sleeping, thy presence my light. Riches I need not, nor man's empty praise. Thou mine inheritance, now and always. Thou and thou only, first in my heart. High King of heaven, my treasure thou art. High King of heaven, my victory won. May I reach heaven's joys, bright heaven's sun. Heart of my own, heart of my own heart. Whatever befall, still.